think that it's lost on me like what a big deal it is to come do this in your studio. Like this is a room. I mean, for me, this has sort of been like an aquarium in my life, just like watching so much stuff happen in this room and watching so many amazing musicians come through, and then also just watching you make videos from this room. Like your studio is a character, basically. It's like part of the BEATO-verse.
Well, it's funny because when I said it's always been set up like this. When it was a recording studio, I mean, it's still a recording studio. We're recording right now.
Yeah.
That I pretty much had it set up with the amps down at that end of the room, and that just seemed like the logical place to put them.
Sure.
So when I started filming, it was really the perfect setup for it. So
like this set is very famous to people who watch the channel, and so many people that I've talked to are like, oh, what are you doing in Atlanta? Oh, I'm doing some shows, and then. Do you know Rick Beato? Oh my God, I love that guy. Like there's no type of person that it's like older people, younger people. It's like every type of person. I mean, one of the reasons why I always loved your channel, you have this ability to take very high-end concepts. Explaining music to people is hard. Explaining like, especially really high-end concepts. And a lot of times people who are masters at something forget what it's like to be a student.
Most of the stuff that I talk about on my channel, I knew in my 20s.
Yeah.
Okay, and except for the production part of it, because I didn't know anything about recording until I was in my late 30s.
Yeah.
But I didn't know about teaching beginners and a lot of the stuff that I did with my channel, explaining things in simpler ways, until I moved to Atlanta, basically to start a band in '94, and I taught 12,000 guitar lessons to little kids mainly, or to all different age people, but from '94 to '99, that's what I did. I just taught in the local music store here.
Wow.
And I had 10 students a day, 10 half-hour lessons a day, 5 days a week. And people would bring in songs, whatever their favorite band was, and I'd sit there, I'd chart them out in 1 minute, 5 minutes. Whatever.
Oh my God, before you could just go,
yeah.
Doop, doop, doop. Oh, here's what it is. I'm on Ultimate Guitar Tabs, or here's 1,500 videos of people playing that song.
Yeah.
You actually had to. I saw a video of yours once where you were talking about I had an album and I just listened to it over and over again, trying to figure out what was happening, and that's how you learned.
You either learned by figuring things out off records, or having people that lived in your hometown, that somebody that was a better player than you.
And you had to be lucky enough to A, have that in your town, and B, have access to that person, and C, have that person be willing, although I feel like people were probably more amenable back then to like, oh yeah, I'll just, if you hang out at the music store, I'll show you how to do that. Occasionally, it was kind of the same with video games. If you get like cheat codes, you get a magazine, it was like Guitar Player magazine, or like, some video game magazine. It's like, here are the cheat codes to this thing, but you still had to be able to acquire that magazine and
right.
be able to understand it without someone showing you. Do you ever watch any of the old like guitar DVDs from like the 80s, like the
God.
VHS tapes from like the 80s or the 90s?
All of them.
My favorite tip was, if you're on the road and your guitar's out of tune, just pick up a phone because the dial tone's an F, and then you just like tune to, like someone tuning their guitar to a dial tone? Like people don't even, no one has dial tones anymore. Like it's just funny to me how streamlined it's all become.
I remember playing gigs in high school, and one gig in particular, this club called the Broken Spoke in Rochester, and it was so noisy in the bar. It was a bar. It was so noisy we couldn't tune backstage. We didn't have any practice, and you're trying to tune and you can't hear each other. So then it was like, well, we'll tune as soon as we get on stage. And so we're on stage, and the drummer was right in between us. It's like, I can't even hear him. Are we even in tune together? And it just sticks in my mind. Then we're playing. We were about a quarter tune out of step with each other, and people were saying, you guys are way out of tune. And then we had to stop and tune our instruments, and now you don't even think about this stuff because everybody's got tuners, but my God.
That's how you learn, though. It only takes a couple of times.
You guys are a quarter step out of tune. Like, what?
So I just want to give people some background that I started following your channel maybe 5 years ago during the pandemic, because piano and guitar were kind of my pandemic hobbies, and it's kind of what kept me from it's like giving into what is being predisposed to anxiety and being neurotic and stuff. It's like, okay, I can't stress about the world if I'm learning an instrument because it just requires too much focus. And that's where I discovered you. And I followed you on Instagram, and not long after that, I get this DM like, "Hey, it's Rick. I just want to say, like, you know, your piano's coming along." It's like, how the do you know who I am? And then it turns out you're a Walking Dead fan, and then and so and your family and your wife, and you know, everyone's so nice, and we became pals. And I just always really appreciated that you took the time to reach out, and you've always just been so nice. And you're one of the few people that I can text like, "I just figured out this musical thing," that you probably figured out 35 years ago, and you're like, "Hey, good for you, buddy." You know, it's like you're always real. What people see on the channel is the same as my experience with you as getting to know you.
Well, it's funny because when we would watch Walking Dead, we all watched Walking Dead, and we all watched the after show. We watched Talking Dead after. Everyone did, and we talked about all my friends.
Especially being in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone knew you. All my friends knew you. It's like everybody knows Chris Hardwick.
Still weird. It still surprises me when anyone knows anything. So it really blew me away, because to me, you're famous. And I think, kind of going back to what you were saying before, it's like, oh, famous musicians come in. I'm sure that a lot of them get nervous. Even people that perform for 50,000 people, because as nice as you are, as warm and wonderful as you are, you're also sort of the master. And so I think everyone feels a bit of like, it's like the smaller stand-up shows are harder. Because when there's a lot of people, you don't really see anyone. But if you're doing a show and there's like 30 people, you're like, oh shit, this really better be good.
It's like doing a wedding.
It is.
Wedding.
Yeah, exactly.
The most stress.
Yeah. So if you're playing for one person and that person is like one of the best in the world at that thing, you're like, oh geez, I'm kind of sweating. Can I get a little powder for my hands because I'm a little sweaty? So I do understand, because I've tried to play for you before and I get nervous. And even as nice and as non-judgmental as you are, I think
that I always laugh about it, because people will tell me this that are well-known musicians. They get nervous. And I was like, I'm not going to ask any trick questions or anything.
I know. But we want to do well for you. And I said to you, Rick, part of the reason is because everyone wants to impress you, because you impress them. And, you know, I mean, you can see this community this wonderful community that you've cultivated of, you know, music knowledge seekers and people who just like music, people who want to learn music. And so I feel like the one thing that is kind of expected is like, well, they really better know what they're doing. So I'm sure that level of performance anxiety does take over sometimes.
When I was on Talking Dead, that was a surreal experience. I was so excited. When you asked me if I would do it, I was on the third to last show, and it was amazing to watch you do the warm-up. And we've talked about this, you and I, about you doing live TV, and I can't even fathom doing live TV.
I love live TV.
I can't even fathom. You came out and you did a teleprompter read. You had, I think, 3 different teleprompters, and you read it so quickly, just like speed reading, or like an auctioneer. And I don't even know how. It just blew my mind.
It's literally maybe the only thing I'm trained to do. Like it's like my only cultivated skill set. But it's sort of like, it's just like driving. It's just like anything. It's like learning scales or anything. It's just, there's a certain amount of muscle memory that's sort of like driving. So I can look at a teleprompter, I can know where we are in the show, I know how much time we have, I have like a weird internal clock, and I have a producer in my ear that I think would drive most people crazy, because if we're coming up to an act, it's like 1 minute, commercial in 1 minute, you know, but I'm talking, but I'm listening with this ear, but I'm listening in my right ear to whoever's on the couch. And when we start getting close to time, if someone's in the middle of talking and then the producer's like 10, 9, I know that means like you have 8 seconds, period. And so I just have to find a place, kind of like Indiana Jones grabbing his hat under the wall coming down to just like land it and get out. So that's like being a mechanic, you know? It's just, well, that's what I've done for 30 years. So it's not, I don't know if that's that impressive. It's just like, as watching you do all of this and have it be so intuitive, that's what that is, but for me.
Well, it's kind of like us talking about learning these skills later in life, learning the guitar, learning the piano.
Yeah.
And me, I was 54 when I started my YouTube channel. I'd never done any type of I'd never been filmed before. I never talked to a camera before. I didn't know how to edit video or all the stuff that I started learning in my mid-50s.
Yeah.
So I learned how to do all this stuff. I'd never interviewed anyone. I'd never read a teleprompter. I don't read teleprompters.
But you're so great at it because there's this very natural authenticity that you don't fake anything because you literally know all this shit. And so for you, to me, when I watch you, it's like, here's a guy who's been doing this for 40 years. This is the sum total of his acquired knowledge that he's just sharing. Hey, I thought this might be interesting. You're kind of just downloading 40 plus years of your life onto the world for preservation and also as kind of a public service for the rest of us who get to not only learn skill sets, but experience it through you. And like I said, having hosted a lot of shows and done this for a long time, you're just naturally really good at it because there's no sort of filter that goes up. Like when the camera comes on, it's like, okay, are we filming? Okay, I've watched you make a video. I've been here when you've made a video. And it's like, oh, he's just doing what, if I were sitting in front of him instead of the camera, this is the conversation we'd be having.
Yeah. I mean, I say to people that any conversation I have with someone, if you filmed it, that could be an episode because I'm exactly the same in the way I communicate. When we were sitting on the couch in there talking before this is exactly the same kind of conversation.
There were like 5 things I was like, Rick, this is so good for the podcast, let's not waste it. And you're like, okay, we'll talk about it. And I don't remember what those were.
We were talking about things like the action on keyboards and coming into doing live shows. Now, I will say this, I've gone out and did a bunch of live shows because you told me I should do that.
Amazing. Yeah, I just thought, listen, as on the business side, touring is a very good business. And it's very difficult to sell a lot of tickets, to motivate people to leave their homes, put on pants and shoes, get in their cars, spend money, park. Like, it's never lost on me what an effort it is, especially in our, like, like all of human entertainment is on your phone at all times. What a big deal it is to motivate someone to, and I was like, I know you are someone that could get people out, but I also know, you carry people through good times, bad times, times when their knowledge is exploding and they're learning and they're curious. And I think it's just meaningful for people to be able to see you in person and be like, he's a real guy, to see you in 3D and to get to share that. And also, I'm sure it's important they can say to you, like, you literally changed my life. Like, I never thought I could do this. I never thought I could learn this. And you inspired me. I mean, it isn't just a YouTube channel. You inspire. You've done so much for music and the proliferation of music knowledge and love of music that I hope none of that's lost on you, because it is a remarkably big deal, especially in a world where so much content, it just feels like fast food.
I just talk about things that I'm interested in. That's kind of always been the I guess, theme of the channel. I started out, if you were to say, what is your channel? When I first started, I was like a teaching channel.
Right.
But it's more of a music appreciation channel.
Yeah.
And I appreciate a large range of music, from popular music to rock music to jazz to classical music. And I talk about all different types of music, some of which, pop music, to the dismay of people that watch it, that want to hate everything about contemporary music. Or somebody will be like, if I don't like something, right, and they just...
Then you're old.
Then I'm old.
Yeah.
It's like, and, oh, Rick doesn't like it because he's old. It's like, well, I have a 12-year-old, I have a 15-year-old, and a 17-year-old. I'm exposed to all this kind of music all the time.
Yes.
Their friends are here all the time. I know exactly what kids listen to because I listen to the same stuff, and I am always listening to contemporary music because my kids do.
I'd fallen into that kind of old person trap where it's like, I don't really listen to new music, I kind of just like, I think I had just had this wall in my head of like, well, musicians now, it's just all auto-tune and they're quantizing it. Stevie Wonder didn't quantize everything. If you listen to I Wish, you hear Stevie and all these amazing musicians just like finding the timing with just their ears, But I watched the Grammys this past year and I was like, holy shit, was I wrong? There are so many incredible newer musicians now, and I was so impressed that show, I watched it start to finish, and I discovered a lot of musicians I didn't know who I am now fans of, and I loved watching the legacy musicians who were there stay the whole show, which does not happen at all the other award shows, and they would get up and they would cheer for each other, and it's like, oh man, I really had started to fall into the old person trap, and I'm so glad that I watched that, because it kind of reminded me, like, don't be an idiot. When you were discovering all your favorite bands in the 80s and 90s, there were people who were like, Tears for Fears, what are you talking about? It's like, oh, it's one of the most anthematic bands in the history of music, you know? So I always have to remind myself, like, never stop trying to grow, never stop learning, never stop listening, because when you do, that's when we start to emotionally calcify, and that's when we get old.
You said something to me about instruments, well, about the piano being linear, just not to change the topic.
No, please,
here.
yeah, please.
And then you said the guitar was, what was the word that you used?
I said there was a thinner margin of error.
Thinner margin of error.
Significantly thinner.
And you're talking about thinner margin of error in that how you have to arch your fingers, for example. They have to be just the right angle so that you don't hit other strings. And these are the things that the micro movements that you have to
But it's so many rotational angles. It's like this, but also this, and it's making sure your thumb's in the right place so you're not, and if it's so easy to mess that up and you don't hear all the strings. And with the piano, I had a guitar teacher once say, like, hey, no offense, Chris, I know you love the piano, but it is a button-pushing instrument. He's like, I know it's hard. And I go, no, you're right, because both of your hands do relatively the same thing, even though you'd be playing bass with this and maybe melody with this. But with a guitar, it's not intuitive to me. You really, both your hands do totally different things.
Right.
But what I appreciate about the guitar is that there's like 10 different ways into a guitar. You can learn shapes, you can just learn notes, you can learn chords, you can learn theory, you can learn scales, you can go down all of those rabbit holes. You don't have to learn any music theory, you know, like it really is a great entry-level instrument, and also it's portable. I love the piano, I prefer the piano. I can't carry a piano everywhere, so, you know, the guitar is, I can take it places, so that's kind of what I meant by, well, there's a thinner margin of error, because there's so many things, there's so many ways that you can mess it up while you're learning, and 9 out of 10 of them are painful.
Well, it requires so many different hand shapes and the thumb has to move around. To play a bar chord, you have to have your thumb behind the neck.
Yeah.
When you're playing other chords, sometimes you're muting the low E string if you're playing a C chord because you don't want it ringing, or a D chord. And it's difficult unless you teach beginners to explain these things to someone. And a lot of times, it's like, as a teacher, for example, when I was teaching Dylan the first few lessons a couple years ago when he started playing guitar, and it's like, okay, should I tell him to mute the low string on the D chord because you don't want it, or just tell him to try to miss it, or will he realize that it's not supposed to be in the chord? And there's all these things that as a teacher, it's like, how do you decide what to, in what order to teach things? That's the most difficult things, especially in making YouTube videos. What are the important things to focus on?
That's such a phenomenal point. Everyone learns differently. So in as much as you used to spend, 10 hours a day playing jazz in clubs, and that's how I perceive that you learned so much about music theory, if you're teaching 10 students a day, you're probably also learning 10 different ways to teach people every day.
Oh yeah.
And so you really probably have to kind of wrap your teaching style around each student. But it's interesting to hear you say with YouTube, it is just sort of like a scatter shot where it's like, well, do you find that you have to pick the most kind of median way to present these concepts because everyone's just going to see one version of it? You can't go in and, oh, you do this with your hand, so you should do it this way, or, oh, you're more of a visual learner, so let's practice it. How do you kind of decide which approach to take with the music that you're teaching?
Well, I try to tailor certain videos towards, a particular concept. For example, 5 things that every beginner guitarist should know. I think that's a video I made, and that these are things that you should learn really early on. And if I were to say, okay, when you're playing these chords in the open position, like a C chord or D chord, it's helpful to have your thumb block the low E string, and you should really learn that early on.
Okay.
When you're playing a B minor chord or a bar chord that has the root on the A string, you should get used to touching the low E string with your index finger, with the tip of.
I'm 2 for 2 so far, so I feel really good about it.
Yes, and this is something, and same with power chords, that you should learn these things right when you first start learning them, so that you don't have to adapt to it later and say, oh, I should do this.
Because you have to relearn.
Then you have to relearn, right. So it's like, when do you tell people this stuff? I would always say, when I had my 10 students, every person, as you said, they have different hand sizes, they have different levels. Some are absolute beginners. Some of them can get concepts really easy. And this person, I know, to simplify things, they can't play it. Is it a riff thing? Do I write it down in tablature? Do I just show it to them so they learn it rote? Literally everything.
So funny to hear that. Tabs are very hard for my brain to process.
Yeah.
I have to look at chords. Like if I go to Ultimate Guitar Tabs, I always select chords, because tabs, I'm like, oh, even though it seems like tabs are easier technically, for some reason it doesn't process. But I want to ask you about, we are living in this kind of information overload era where it's like, yes, you can learn about anything you want, more so than at any other time in human history. Great. The downside is, when there are a million videos about everything, how do you know? How do you know who has the good music information? How do you know who just was like, oh, I know enough, I'll start a channel, and you're learning bad technique? You wouldn't know if you're a student.
No.
So do you just have to watch a lot of videos and kind of average out, like, well, most people kind of say this, so I guess this is it? Or is it just connecting with a personality? How do you, on the opposite side, sort through all of the stuff that's out there to find the quality when there's so much quantity?
That's a great question. When Dylan was learning the guitar, he would open up YouTube and learn guitar. So even though he's got this amazing ear, he doesn't use it that way. To him, the shortcut is just watch someone else play it.
Right.
So he knows what position it's in. He doesn't have to do the work. And so then I would walk in when he's watching it, but he doesn't have any speakers in his room, so he's always be listening on earbuds, because none of my kids want stereo systems in their room for some reason.
Oh my God.
So I would have to take one of his earbuds and put it in to listen to it. It's like, what is this? So then I start watching the videos of these, and there's so many song teaching videos. Some of the people are friends of mine that I have seen their videos. Then I see the other ones. I was like, oh, this person's really good at this particular style of thing.
Yeah.
And to me, the tempo of the video is just as important as the accuracy of the information. For example, when I watch a beginner video to recommend it to somebody, I would say, I want a playthrough. I want to see a playthrough first, up to tempo, at least of a section, and then go through and show the elements of it. But don't spend too much time on it, because people will lose interest. And I guarantee you, if you look at their retention curves on their videos, really good teachers, the ones that have millions of followers that teach beginning guitar, beginning any instrument, but guitar or piano, whatever it is, they know what the tempo of how they should teach a song, how long should they spend on. But people that teach one note at a time, those are unwatchable videos. You need to be able to teach at least 2-bar segments or 4-bar segments at a time and move on, I think.
I find that I have a difficult time knowing what to practice on guitar, because at least with piano, and I started out, I had like children's books, basically. My teacher was like, oh, this is what we would give first grade, second grade, third grade. They're like nursery rhymes and stuff, and that's how I learned. But then it kind of quickly moved to, like, the idea of an etude is a musical study.
Yeah.
So the exercises are pieces, they're songs. But I find with guitar, it's like, I know C, I know D, I know G, I know A. I know the chords. Now what? What do I practice? Well, I can get stuck in this loop of just playing like, you know, a pentatonic scale in 5 different shapes, but then I don't know. I look at the guitar sometimes and go, what do I do with you? You know, and I get lost because the way that you learn guitar, at least from my experience, is wildly different than the way that you learn piano, where the songs are actually the educational pieces.
Well, I think that on guitar, for me, it's the same way you should learn songs. And then if you want to improve your knowledge of soloing, you learn people's solos. And that develops a lot of different techniques because everybody kind of has their own playing style.
Right.
So if you're trying to learn Jimmy Page's style and Eric Clapton's style and Jimi Hendrix's style and or Albert King or whoever, Stevie Ray Vaughan, you're getting completely different styles of playing from all these people. And then the song repertoire, learning, Nirvana songs or Pearl Jam songs or Beatles songs or Rolling Stones songs, just learning the things is really a way to learn vocabulary. You learn chords, you learn picking patterns. Some songs are finger picking songs. The old songs that we used to learn, whether it's Stairway to Heaven or Dust in the Wind or whatever, you're first starting out that are songs that actually use finger picking. Some songs are flat picking songs, meaning you pick through the chords and
right.
stuff. So I would always try and work on what I call repertoire, I guess, learning songs.
Okay, now that you're saying that, it's like, oh yeah, of course. That's basically what we do with piano. Well, I have a repertoire. I learn, and I think it's good to have easy stuff, medium stuff that you can learn pretty quickly, and then just sort of like pie in the sky. I may never learn this, but I'm just gonna chip away at it a little bit each day, and then just kind of see. But I'll probably really never learn that piece.
It's funny. There's songs that I couldn't play when I was a kid as a beginner, that as an adult I can just play it just by thinking about it.
Yeah.
Right. And yet I couldn't even play it because I didn't have the technical abilities to play it. You don't realize it.
So anticlimactic. Oh, I wonder if I could play. Yeah, I got that. Check that off the.
So, and then it's, for me, the fun thing is to see David Gilmour play the Shine On guitar lick while he's sitting 1 foot away from me. You never thought this was going to happen.
I would imagine that would be a life moment.
Well, it's just funny to be sitting there and David Gilmour sitting right next to me holding a guitar.
So you're sitting across from David Gilmour. This is obviously like, not just a career highlight, but like a life highlight,
right.
How do you process that? Like afterwards, are you lying in bed being like, what the is my life? Or how did that, or, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Like, do you celebrate it? Do you try not to focus on it too much and be superstitious about it? Like, how do you process that?
Well, when I found out I was going to be interviewing David, I called my brother John, who's as big a Pink Floyd fan and David Gilmour fan as I am. And I said, John, I'm interviewing David Gilmour. When? Oh, next Tuesday in New York City. Oh, I'm coming. Okay, great. So my brother John's 4 years younger than me and a great guitar player. He started playing the same week I did, pretty much. So he comes down and he's there in the room. And I remember during the interview, I said, "Hey, John, what was I going to ask him again? You're going to ask him, tell him about the Gilmour effect." Okay. And David's laughing because he meets my brother John and
oh my God, John must have lost his mind.
Yeah, oh, it was so fun. Right, so not only just to being able to share that with your brother that you've grew up playing guitar together with and stuff, and here we are sitting with David Gilmour, but we had just seen him at Madison Square Garden the night before, and David comes in, I was like, "Great show last night." He's like, "Man, my fingertips are killing me," and it's funny that it's just, that all the same things that
he's a human. He's human,
right? He's like, I've sat down with so many of my idols, Sting and Brian May, and just all these people Keith Jarrett, one of the greatest musicians of all time, and Pat Metheny, all my jazz heroes, my rock heroes. I think about it, but I don't dwell on it because you just realize that they're just regular people.
Also, you have to keep moving. It's like
yes.
you always, I think I asked you once, like, hey, you've really hit it with your channel. Do you ever feel like you can't slow down? You're like constantly, it's like you can never jump. It's like you feel like you can't really jump off because you've established a pattern of like on to the next thing, on to the next thing, what's next, what's tomorrow, how are we doing this? And I think one of the other impressive things about you is you have all this musical skill, you have this ability to present that material, but somehow you also have this kind of like marketing brain, this data brain, where you really seem to love and crave the data about how everything works. It's like you love to take it apart and see the inner workings of how the videos work, how do the thumbnails work, how do the titles work. And so when I see your level of success, it's like, that's not an accident. Like it's, yes, you can be as good as you are, you can be as likable as you are, but does that still work if you're not as methodical as you are?
I approach it the same way I approach learning music. I'm just fascinated by the elements of it. When people used to say, Rick, why do you like producing more than playing? And I said, it's not just that I like producing, I like the engineering part of it even more. I like it right down to where you place the microphones. It's fascinating because I never understood that, how microphones work, how microphone preamps work, how compressors, how EQs, how to mix a song. I've always taken it for granted. You listen to albums, but you don't realize all the work it takes to put it in, to put into it. That songs starts out as blank tape or blank hard drive.
Yeah.
Then you fill them in with songs. But every song that you love, from Purple Haze to Stairway to Heaven to whatever just came out last week, these things start out as maybe just a drum loop or a sound or a melody or somebody on an acoustic guitar. And then you have to actually commit the stuff onto a hard drive. I mean, and then build the track, and every step of it is fascinating.
It's fascinating, but also there's a million fail points at every step. I think I heard Susanna Hoffs talking about like when she brought Eternal Flame to the band and the producers, it was just like her and a guitar, and they're like, I don't know. But then they worked with it, and it's like, oh, it's literally one of the greatest ballads ever written. But if at any point they had just been like, well, let's not explore that anymore. It's like there's so many different ways, or if something isn't produced in a certain way, or if it's not presented through the right lens, it's just like there's so much more than just, isn't this a catchy song?
I'm fascinated about how songs become hits. How do shows become hits? You know, there is a reason that things actually reach this tipping point where there's so much word of mouth around it. If you don't want to be the last person watching Squid Games or whatever it is,
right.
You know, that Walking Dead, you know, at some point people adopt these things, then a lot of people adopt them, then it becomes the biggest show or whatever.
Viral. It's a virality.
Viral.
Yeah.
Same with songs. Like, why does one do well and why does one not do well?
That happens with stand-up shows sometimes, where it's like same material, different crowds react differently. Sometimes like there's a room dynamic thing where it's like there can sometimes be a handful of, I just call them activators. I guess you would call them influencers in social media, but it's like there's a handful of people who laugh louder. They activate, there's a halo effect, and then they each bring up their sections, and then they come together and form this organism. And sometimes it seems like with popular art that can happen too. It just kind of activated certain people in the right way that created this halo effect that brought all these people together. Hey, did you hear about this? Hey, did you hear about this? And, you know, it's like, look at any success montage from any kind of music-based, you know, that thing you do. Oh my God, it got played on the radio. Oh my God, you know, and you're watching this snowball effect. It's like, well, that one was a hit. The other songs that band had in that movie were not hits, and that's just how it was, you know? I don't know. Is it answerable?
Yeah, I think it is answerable. I think it's figure-outable, as I like to
it's
say.
figure-outable.
Figure-outable. I think nowadays there has to be, in order to create the virality, I don't think it's just influencers talking about songs. I think that you see artists like Tate McRae's a pop artist, female singer. She'll do 30 different videos that she films on her phone because she started on YouTube. And I'm fascinated by people that start on a platform like YouTube and become big pop stars, right? And so she knows how to make her own YouTube videos or her shorts. She puts her phone down and she'll dance and lip sync to her own songs. But she'll make multiple videos for the same song. She'll do sped up versions of
it's
stuff.
so genius. That's so brilliant.
And then you have other people, you do a dance to it and everything, and other people start copying it. People start using that segment of the song and they become hits. So to me, it's really the people that can actually promote their own music are the ones that
This is where like old man stuff comes in, because I think my sort of Gen X mentality is like, well, no one wants to. I've already made that video. They're not gonna. And it's like, no, because the people who are smart know that if you put up a bunch of videos, most of them are probably not going to be seen by everyone, but eventually one of them will catch.
That's right.
They know that this is how you just reach people, and older people like me are like, but how do I make I've already posted. It's
okay,
like,
do you think it's your Gen X brain that is programmed to be like, okay, there's the definitive video that goes with the song?
I got on TikTok last year, and I approach sketches like everything is Kids in the Hall, where it's like, yeah, sketches are like 5-6 minutes long. They have a beginning, a middle, an end, an arc. They develop, and when average watch times are like 3 to 7 seconds, it's like, no. So yes, it's very much my Gen X brain that thinks that everything has to be so fully formed. And that's my overthinking when it comes to content making, is like, just put stuff out. You don't have to swing for the fences every time, because often the stuff that you never expect are going to be the stuff that you're not overthinking are going to lose this overproduced. They're going to be more authentic. They're going to feel more off the cuff. They're going to feel more in the moment. Just put shit out. And I'm constantly having to talk myself out of my habits. So I'm curious, how do your videos are very authentic, but they're obviously also very well produced, but you establish that as who you are. So how off the cuff is your stuff, and how do you have to fight that urge to overproduce?
Everything I do is off the cuff. I don't ever have a script or anything. I just come in and I just start shooting.
But watching your evolution, knowing that when you first started, your stuff was a lot more presented like, you did a lot more like 30-minute videos with a whiteboard of like, here's, if you were taking my class, because I know you were also a music professor, this is what you would see if you came and sat.
I did it exactly like I do a lecture.
And at a certain point, you kind of shed that. So was there a definitive moment where you were like, I think I'm going to start kind of gravitating more in this other direction?
Well, I felt like I made the videos, to your point, I made a video on compression that has millions of views, and when people go, they still find the video and they still watch it. And I made a video on EQing, and I made multiple videos on modes. I made individual videos on Ionian, one on Dorian and Phrygian and Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. Then I made videos on all the melodic minor modes and the harmonic major modes and the double harmonic major modes. And I've made all those videos, and it's like, okay, do I go back and remake those videos because I know how to make better visuals now, or do I just let those be? And
I don't think you need to remake them.
Yeah, so I didn't remake them. So I just kept moving on to different content. Okay, what do I make now? Then I started What Makes a Song Great. I made 115 episodes of that, and I stopped making them then. And then I did all these top 20 listicles, as people call them, countdown videos and stuff. And I don't really make those anymore, except every 4 months I do a top 10 Spotify countdown, just so people kind of know whether they want to or not what's happening in pop music.
Right.
And then I did interviews, and I've been doing interviews and stuff. And then I constantly I've changed my content every year. I do something different. Shorts were really difficult for me at first. I couldn't wrap my mind around it. It's like, how do you fit a guitar on a vertical screen? It just doesn't lay there. So then I started playing like this, and I did a bunch of videos. Then I realized, like, I suck playing like this. So then I went back to this, and I figured, use keyframing, and you just move the thing around, right? So you just film it landscape and just crop it and move the thing. It took me for a couple years before I started the Like That series, and then that really blew up. And it was like, okay, so I've kind of mastered how to do that short form content, and my shorts and my Instagram have done extremely well. And I do well on TikTok even though I always forget to post on TikTok. I kind of stop. I have about 350,000 followers on there, and I post once every 3 months when I'm thinking of, I haven't posted any. I've probably have 150 shorts I have not posted on TikTok that I could.
Oh my gosh. I had heard it presented once that Instagram is are videos you make to show your friends, and TikTok are videos you make to show strangers, you know, like
Wow.
that you're constantly trying to, that they're two like fundamentally kind of different mindsets. And I have not found any success over on TikTok, but I also, a lot of that's my fault because number one, since having a baby, I just don't really care about posting very much. I would rather spend time with my child. And so the other side is that I was never a TikTok consumer. So it's not, I don't natively speak the language of the platform. Are you good at separating your ego, your self-worth from those metrics? Or do you feel like that kind of drives you to do more and do better? Obviously, you have your own metrics where it's like what might be a lot of views to some people, you might go, this one didn't really catch, you know?
I have kind of my own metrics for how well a video should do based on what the interest in the person. And when I have some avant-garde jazz person on my channel, I know that's going to do X amount of views. I have an idea for how well it should do. And there's no changing a thumbnail or title that's going to change how many people are interested in this topic. As far as, you know, comments and things, and a lot of people that are well-known musicians hate social media because they get so invested in the negative comments and stuff like that. People will make videos, other YouTubers will make videos on about my videos, and I just laugh at it because why Rick Beato is wrong about this. It's like, I'm wrong about my own opinion? How am I wrong about my own opinion? And I just laugh about it. And friends of mine will use me in their thumbnails to get clicks on their videos, and they'll disagree with me. And I'll text them. I was like, I saw your video and everything. It's like, you gotta be kidding, you know, and we laugh about it.
So you just have managed to not personalize any of it. And
I think it's hilarious.
Yeah. We were talking about your shoulder before, and the reason that I want to bring that up is because you said, you know, I was having problems with my shoulder and I couldn't lift it up past a certain point. But what they told me in physical therapy is that it was largely in my head. If I was asleep, they could move my arm all sorts of ways, but my brain has created this, what it was sure was a limitation. You can't do this, so I can't do it while I'm conscious. And I thought that is such an amazing, the brain is amazing and up at the same time.
Yes.
And how many limitations do we put on ourselves that just don't need to be there because we're overthinking, because we're insecure, because we're afraid. And so how, you know, in those times, you've done what most people would be afraid to do, which is you've just played improvisational music for a lot of your life in front of strangers, and you just figured it out. But that took your 10,000 hours or whatever it was. So what advice do you have for people to like, just acknowledge that your brain's gonna tell you can't do stuff, and you can choose to just like not listen to that and do the stuff you wanna learn anyway?
Well, I always say it's remarkable what you can do when you put your mind to something. It's also remarkable how you can talk yourself out of things.
Yeah. I'm so thankful that I stuck with the guitar and the piano, because it's really frustrating for a while. And if I had thought about that and the enormity of that starting, I never would have, oh, it's too hard. I don't want to, it's just not going to be, I'm going to suck at it. You know, it's like, fine, suck at it. Just be a little better than you were yesterday.
Well, all the physical coordination elements of it never go away. Once you develop those brain pathways, if you didn't play a guitar for 20 years, everything that you've learned comes back instantly.
You told me that when you started really getting into the YouTube channel, you hadn't picked up a guitar in like 25 years.
I hadn't played a guitar solo or anything. I did my last jazz gig, because when I played in a rock band, we didn't really have solos. They were kind of worked out. So,
right.
You know, they're basically playing melodies and stuff, and I didn't even play all the solos. So I hadn't even played a guitar solo since 1991. So from 1991, yeah. So from 91, right when Teen Spirit came out, that's the last time I did a jazz gig where I was improvising. Till 2016, till I started my YouTube channel, I hardly ever played guitar, except when I was producing something and the people that I was producing couldn't play their parts clean enough, and I'd have to play them for them. But it was all power chords, and I did a lot of metal, and it was a lot of muted guitar things and a lot of riffs, right? And it's just playing them cleanly. So there were technical things that were But it was never any like modes or anything like that. I'd never thought about a mode or thought about music theory for how many years is that? 25 years? Yeah, 25 years.
25 years, yeah.
Because even when I was a guitar teacher, I was basically just teaching songs that were on the radio.
Right.
So just very simplistic.
Well, that's what blew me away when you said you hadn't played, and then it's like to watch how seamlessly your fingers just glide all over the guitar.
Yeah, so all that stuff, all that coordination was still there, which is amazing. Yeah. I mean, it took a week to kind of get it back and everything, but it just never goes away. It doesn't matter.
Did someone kind of find you and teach you guitar? Did you seek it out? Did you like what was it that made you decide? I mean, this must have been in the 70s.
1976.
So what was it that made you say, like, this is what I'm going to do? I'm going to figure out how to make a business out of this. I actually don't know this part of your history.
So I broke my ankle when I was in summer of eighth grade, first week of the summer, and it was a really bad break. And the orthopedic guy said, you're going to be in a cast for the whole summer. 13 weeks I was in a cast for. And they didn't have walking casts or anything back then.
No, it was just they just turned your leg into a statue. It was just
Yes.
like plaster, like you're done.
First week of the summer, I'm like, oh my God, the entire summer I'm in a cast. So into the fall, when school started, I was still in the cast. And I had a guitar that my brother had gotten from a buddy of his, a $1. It was a global guitar, a little plywood piece of junk. Had that, and my brother had a Mel Bay guitar book, and it was sitting there. And I already played the cello, and I was playing the bass at the time. So I already had finger coordination. So I was like, all right, I'm on the couch. The guitar was right there, so I picked it up, and I had this book, and I opened it up, and I was like looking at the Mel Bay chord pictures of the hand. And I was like, okay, here's a D chord, and I put my fingers there, and I play it and everything. I was like, God, that hurts my fingertips and stuff. And there's a C chord, and I was like, oh, that's A minor. That's like the Angie goes with that chord. I started recognizing instantly all the open chords. It's like, oh my God, this song uses that chord. Oh, and it goes to this, and then immediately could figure out songs, like within a day. And so after the summer, I got my cast off, and I begged my mom to help me get a guitar. So we went to this music store, and I saw a 12 strings. Like, what is this? Guy's like, it's a 12 string. And I played it. I was like, oh my God.
It just solved like all these mysteries of how,
yes.
yeah.
I was like, that's Stairway to Heaven. Jimmy Page plays a 12 string, and the picking parts and stuff is like, no wonder it sounds like that. My first guitar, nice guitar, the $120 Penco 12 string I got.
That's an interesting choice for a first guitar.
Yeah, so my first nice guitar was a 12 string. That's what I learned, and I started learning leads and stuff on a 12 string acoustic.
I mean, it's all the things that had to happen for you to land at 54 and YouTube, like just your whole like life journey. Do you feel like if you were 20 now, that you would understand it the same way, or do you feel like you needed to go through everything you went through, the timing was just perfect the way that it was? Or would you have preferred, like when you were 20, 25, to have this ability to reach large numbers of people overnight?
So my biggest video I've ever had is the video I did with my son Dylan before I started my YouTube channel.
Of course, it is a classic in the pantheon of classic. It still hurts my brain, like, how does he really? I don't understand.
So the first video I ever had was this massive 80 million view video on Facebook. And so that was my first experience. So when I started posting on YouTube and my videos were getting 150 views after that, I was like, wait a minute, I'm not going to get 80 million views. I get 100.
You got spoiled.
80 videos.
What made you stick with it?
It was interesting to make the videos. It was fun because it was something new to learn. So I bought Final Cut Pro, and I had friends that had come over here, and I was like, we should make some instructional videos for YouTube, and I wasn't in them.
You were just like, you guys be in it. I don't know how to.
Well, I was actually working on other stuff, so I already had the software to make the videos. So after the Dylan video, so many people wrote to me, how did you teach him this stuff and the theory part of it? And I was like, I'll just make some YouTube videos to explain it. And I did all my first videos were about ear training and how to name chords and what I how I explained the stuff to an 8-year-old. Well, I explained it to him when he was 4 and 5, how I taught Dylan theory. And so that's kind of was my early videos were that. So that I wouldn't have to keep writing to people. I was like, I'll make YouTube videos and just say, here, watch the link.
Which led to the course, which led to, I got the BEATO book. I imagine now it's a pretty sustainable business, but was it ever something that you thought would be a sustainable business? Or was there a moment where you're like, wait a minute, I think this might be a sustainable business?
My buddy Shane that asked me to make the video to show his wife of Dylan is the one that told me he's like, what is that BEATO book you have in there? He's like, what is that? I said, that's what I used to use to teach college. It was just a handwritten book that was Xeroxed. And I print out each year for my students.
Yeah.
And he's like, why don't you sell that on your YouTube channel? I was like, what do you mean?
Like print out copies and mail it?
He said, do you have a PDF of it? And I said, you know, one of my old students made me a PDF. He emailed me about 5 years ago, and I searched for it, and it was in my email. Somebody opened up the book, and it was 400 pages, and must have had their assistant go through and make a PDF of every page. And so I just sold that, and it just made it to where I could go in further depth than I could in videos.
None of this feels like an accident, and I think it may have started as an accident, where it's like, oh, we just accidentally posted a video and then just became this thing. But you had to identify that, and you had to really learn how all this stuff works. So
that's the most fun part, Chris, is
the process.
Yeah, to me, understanding how it works is as fun as making the videos. Getting incrementally better at playing something by practicing it over and over and over. I just love that. I will listen to the same passage a million times if I like it. I drive my kids nuts. I will rewind 4 bars and listen to it over. And why do you do that? Why do you listen to the same song over? And I'm like, why don't you do that? That's
the producer side.
Right? That's it. It is. I like the process. I love the process of making a song, the process of making the video. How do you make it make sense, have a through line? Is there a story to it?
Were your parents obviously your parents were supportive. Your mom got you a 12-string guitar.
My parents both loved music, and they were totally thought me getting a degree in music was great, unlike any of my friends that were getting music degrees. None of my friends that got music degrees, their parents always wanted them to go into business or do something else.
Especially back then. So you got to do something practical.
Yeah, and my parents were like, what are you talking about? This is amazing.
Oh,
Finally,
good.
one of our kids wants to be a musician.
Do you do this 7 days a week, or have you found some balance, like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5?
Balance?
Okay, that's what I thought.
No balance. I'm like Monday through Sunday, 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. is pretty much it. The other guys here, they work Monday through Friday for the most part. They work on Saturdays sometimes, but I work every day. I love it.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I really feel like I'm just trying to find the balance of it to not, because I feel like if I really get into it, I probably, would be so 7 days a week,
Chris, that's why you're successful. It takes a certain kind of person to have the drive to do anything really well, I think. I really do. It's
insecure, trying to fill a hole, trying to get some sort of result to make us, I don't know. To me, it just, when people are like, wow, I can't, how do you do stand-up? I'm like, I think it's a flaw. I don't know if it's like.
Okay, are the shows that you remember usually ones that have disasters attached to them?
In a way, like disasters in quotation marks,
that end up being very funny, though.
One of them actually happened in Atlanta at this club called the Laughing Skull in 2009 or something. I had just started touring, 2009, 2010. And so, it was pre-Talking Dead. The podcast had maybe just started or was about to start in early 2010. And the Late Show, there were 9 people in the audience, 9 or 10 people. And it was already not a big club. And that could have been devastating. But instead, I was like, oh, you know what I should do is just have the crowd was so small, I just had everyone come up one at a time and I just kind of interviewed them for 5 or 6 minutes. And to me, it was that was such a special show to me, and I'll always remember it. And the 9 or 10 people who were there will probably always remember it, because I just, for whatever reason, I adapted. And my friend Mike Furman, who you'll see, who's performing with us, some of our most memorable shows are, we did a lot of stuff with video, and we did a show that had, we had a backing band playing like they were in a studio, so we pretended it was live via satellite. And we did this little graphic where there was a satellite uplink or whatever. And halfway, there was always some technical problem with our shows. And halfway through the song, I accidentally kicked the plug out of the projector, because it was back when we had to bring projectors and screens. And so everything just went, ew. And I was like, well, I guess we got to start that again. So we had to start the whole thing over, like the whole satellite uplink, like, oh, this is, we'll just reestablish the connection. But those, and I think it kind of loops back around to like what makes really great art is all the imperfections, you know, like when things are hyper quantized and when things are so lined up perfectly, it's like a robot can do that, but a human makes mistakes, but then knows how to like kind of spackle over those and make something new and interesting and in the moment that's special, you know? Those moments are special. I don't know, when you talk about, when you made the video about the most unplayable song, was it the Sergio Mendes song?
Yeah. Never Gonna Let You
Never
Go.
Never gonna let, just like, why is he going up to the, and then you guys like up that song. This is probably one of the most fun memories of your life,
Oh
but
my God.
from a technical standpoint, was a disaster.
Yeah. That's what was so great about it. And those are the only things I ever remember are gigs that have gone wrong, and it's so fun to think about them.
If you can navigate it with that attitude, it's great, because you sort of welcome those, and those are the things that kind of make you bulletproof.
To me, those are the things that we always talk about and laugh about. If you were to say, Rick, what is your best video on your channel? That's one of my favorite videos that I made, was that video, because of the story associated with it. It's not just breaking down this song that has 22 key changes in it. It's insane, but it's how we screwed it up, how we're all cocky. We're jazz musicians. We can figure this out. Play the song, plays the intro. Okay, we got it. And then, wait a second, it changes keys in the verse. Okay, and then the second half of the verse changes key again, goes up a half step, what? And then the pre-chorus goes from F sharp minor to B flat, what? And then the chorus.
But somehow it's listenable. Somehow it's a hit.
Right.
That and like Sting and like,
Right, Fortress Around Your Heart with a weird key change, you don't even notice?
You don't notice it.
No.
That's art.
That is art.
Because anyone else, it's like too many notes. That's too much.
I went to the NAMM show, and this woman comes up to me. She's like, she's the woman that sang Never Gonna Let You Go.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
Yes, Lisa Miller, yeah. That was really fun. And so many people have seen that video. So many well-known musicians too have said, oh my God, I heard that song and I never realized how many times it changed key.
I mean, it's been such a great honor to get to be friends with you. And I just really appreciate,
same.
I just really appreciate that you do what you do, and you inspire me and you inspire so many people, and just for being you, which I guess is another great takeaway. It's like, don't overthink it, just be yourself.
It's easy to be, it's easy to be yourself. You just have to let yourself do that.
Well, you forget to be yourself because you think, well, I'm not interesting. I gotta be something. I gotta do something rather than just be, you know? It's like, I gotta do something. I have to do this to, it's like, no, just be yourself, talk to the camera, you know, pick up an instrument, whatever it is. And I think you inspired people to do that every day. And, you know, before we leave, I might just beg you to just give me a 5-minute guitar lesson, and maybe I'll just post it as a little extra thing, if that's okay.
Let's do it.
Okay. Rick Beato, you're the best.
Thanks, Chris.